Alright, y'all. What is up? I'm in Taiwan. I'm in a pretty nice hotel room. They upgraded me. Pretty blessed. Been sleeping in a hostel the last 4 days. So this is a nice switch up. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I've noticed throughout my travels as an American or Asian American, throughout my travels across specifically Asia. And I do find it quite interesting now as an Asian American that almost 30 plus years ago, and I think a lot of people from similar backgrounds as me feel this, that our families work so hard to leave the countries they originally came from, like my parents, for instance, such as leaving Taiwan and China to come to the US for a better economic opportunity, are the main reasons, because at the times those two countries weren't doing too hot economically. And I think you can say that even for other Asian countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, right? There's this great Asian migration over to the US to increase the opportunity to build wealth. And I find it funny now that as a generation of Asian Americans grow up, not funny, or just, I guess, interesting to think about, is now a bunch of them, since they begin to work their corporate jobs 9 to 5, or just generate some kind of financial stability through whatever career paths they chose beyond the 9 to 5 as well, that a lot of them, and like myself, like I've been thinking about, have been slowly coming back to Asia in general, Southeast Asia, East Asia, to spend their wealth, spend their knowledge. And it really gives us, especially as Westerners, a leg up in terms of the dollar just going a lot further. And this thought came to me when I was getting dinner with one of my buddies in Taiwan here, and we were just talking about dating, and he was telling me that a lot of Taiwanese girls, they are on certain dating apps because they are looking for an ABC. If you don't know what ABC means, it's American Born Chinese. And I was like, they prefer dating American Born Chinese, or they're specifically looking out for that. And then I asked him why. And then he told me that it's because they think that you guys, or Asian Americans, have more money. And I was like, interesting. So then that conversation had me thinking about this. So let me share my screen real quick. So I'm going to first search up average Taiwanese salary annually. So that's 760,000 NT, which if you want to convert that to USD is 24,000 USD. So the average Taiwanese person would be making 24,000 USD. Obviously it's an average, so the lows and the highs are really maybe suppressing that number versus like the median, but we'll go with the average. Then you want to go to the average American salary. Average American corporate, I don't know, like American worker. So the average American worker salary is 66,000. So percent change calculator. So around like 66 G's versus 24. So what's that percent change like? Basically, Americans have a higher, or they make 63% more than the Taiwanese worker. And yeah, that also makes sense why they think, or the perception is, oh, Asian Americans, they want to date them because they have more money. And it's also beyond dating, too. Just in general, Americans have higher buying power in Asia because of the higher average salary. Not all parts of Asia, but if you want to think about like the ones I've been to, like Taiwan, Korea, Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, Thailand. I've heard Vietnam is really cheap for Americans. The dollar just goes a lot further. And then another example here was I was in Taiwan on a date with somebody, and then she was telling me, or she was observing to me that, she just pointed out that, I think we were talking about like average American salaries. I don't know what it was, but she was just saying, oh yeah, anytime, or usually when they see, she was just trying to articulate that, because I was telling her about the average American salary being a lot higher, and then she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense because now I know why that anytime I see a Westerner or ABC, that they are able to live in a lot nicer places. And I think it just makes sense in general that if you're working 9 to 5, you're going to be getting paid more than the average Taiwanese worker. So if you come here, you're going to be able to have a higher quality of life just because the American dollar goes a lot further. And Exhibit A, look at the suite I'm in. It's pretty dope. And this is like $80 a night. Pretty good value for an American. The main takeaway on this financial point is, Taiwan feels cheap to me as an American, especially on the food side. Like $5 food, like pork and rice bowl, even like $2. Sometimes the housing is expensive, sometimes it's cheap, depends on the day. But, if you are earning a local salary, it's a different story. The prices are lower, but the wages are also lower, so Taiwanese people are spending a larger percentage of their salary on food and housing versus an American. So that's why some locals, especially if you're in a Taipei city, they can feel like they're being squeezed or it's really expensive for them. Like some of my friends, they don't even live in the city because it's expensive. And an American, it's easier to afford that. They're spending a less percentage of their average salary on food and housing. But if you're a local, you'd be spending a larger portion of your salary. And then I think beyond just the buying power of an American or Westerner being in an Asian country is English is really a world language. If you travel to Europe, most people obviously are going to speak English or even have a little bit of English. Like some parts of Italy, I think it was kind of rough when I was there, but everybody had basic English. In Taiwan, Taipei City, and even some other outer skirt cities I've been to, like Hualien and Taichung, everybody had very basic English understanding. There are, especially service workers, there are some people that I meet through mutual friends where they have no really understanding of English, and I even have some relatives that have no understanding of English here in Taiwan. But just to get by around the city as a tourist, like I mentioned, most service people, they have very proficient English. They're able to understand you, like a 7-Eleven, Family Mart, even some of the breakfast shops, they have English menus, right? And then when you're in Thailand, a lot of people speak very, very basic English. Some people speak more than others. So you're able to get around proficiently with basic phrases. Most people can understand that. Not in China, though. That's what I've heard. I want to be in China soon, so I'll let you guys know. But I think that's really nice as a person that speaks English and is American, that it's the world language. And like, I don't have to go to, usually it's kind of funny as an American when you go to a new country like Korea or something. Like, I don't have to learn Korean to get around. And the Americans do this funny thing where they think if they speak an English phrase slower, this person from this country is going to be able to understand them. I know I do that too. But even in Thailand, I'd be doing this like Thai accent. I put this like, I think if I'm going to speak in a Thai accent, it's going to make it easier for them to understand my English, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I think as an American, it's pretty nice at times. And maybe this is part of why a lot of the world kind of dislikes American travelers at times, is because they just expect everybody to speak their language. And there's pros and cons to that, depending on what side you're on. And then I also think there's favorable perceptions of Westerners in certain countries you visit. Like, I think in Thailand and Hong Kong, they really like Americans. And I think it's because usually Americans have the higher ability or higher spending power. Like, I think especially like Thailand and Japan, Americans usually have higher spending powers than other countries. And they treat them maybe better. I guess just from my perspective. Obviously, it's different for me because I look really Chinese until people hear me speak. But I think like in Asia, it's pretty nice. Like, I've heard a lot of good things about Vietnam. I'm going to be in Vietnam soon. I've been to Thailand and Japan. Usually most people are really nice to Americans and Westerners. Maybe because that's part of the factor. Maybe some other political influences as well. I know maybe traveling to Europe as an American now is maybe not as favorable just because of the political tensions. But that's also what I noticed. And then I think as an American with the U.S. passport, it's not elite level status like Singapore or Japan, because I still need a visa to travel to Vietnam and China, which is not super convenient. But I can go to most Asian countries like Thailand, Hong Kong. There's a lot of countries that are, even a lot of parts of Europe, don't really need a visa to go. And then, I have some friends from like Indonesia and some other countries where it's like such a pain in the ass for them to go to a country, even to come to the U.S. Like, even like the Philippines passport, like going to the U.S. is a pain in the ass. You have to get a visa. I know it's a pain in the ass for me to go to China because I got to get a visa. I'm working on that right now, but that's why I haven't gone so long. It's just a barrier that's super annoying to deal with. But in general, the U.S. passport's pretty good to get around. I wouldn't say it's elite level. It's not God tier, but it does a pretty good job. But that's what I've been thinking about. This concept kind of just sprouted out from conversations I've been having with local people in Taiwan, and made me dig a little bit deeper into it and try to make some understanding of it. But thanks for tuning into this Stream of Thought video. I'll see everybody in the next one.